For the people who don't know me, so I'm Greet Bunnens and I'm your personal branding, business and marketing coach. And it's personal because I mainly work one-on-one with people. Why is that? Because I believe that if you want to build an authentic brand, if you want to build an authentic business, then you deserve personal attention, individual attention. And that's why I mainly work one-on-one with people. And the aim of the collaboration is growing our businesses and our brands and to make this world a better place. Now, that's enough about me. What is important for me too is that I've noticed that, well, I think I'm not the only one, but a lot of things have changed lately, especially the Corona times have caused a lot of changes, but it's been going on for a while and we're going through a complete transformation. And that means that the way we've done business so far, I think it's a little bit outdated. And I also know that there's quite some marketing and business gurus and coaches out there who are stuck in the Middle Ages, in my opinion, if I can say so this bluntly. So I think that we need a new approach when it comes to marketing, when it comes to business, when it comes to branding, and actually we need a new way of living in total and in general. And the question is, what's new? How can we make ourselves future-proof? How can we change our businesses? How can we do better marketing, etc.? And I have some opinions and I've got some ideas, of course, but it's more interesting to ask guests in this show to ask their opinion. And tonight I have a special guest with me, and that's Taha. Thank you, Taha, for being here.
Hi.
It's a real pleasure to have you here. So I'm gonna give you the word, but Taha and I, we don't know each other that long. We know each other via a mutual friend. She was on one of the episodes also, is Michelle Mays. And I told her I want some new faces with new ideas on the future. And she connected me with Taha and I asked him to come along. And so he did. And Taha, I often call you Tina because you keep on calling me. What's the name you call me?
I call you Geert instead of Greet.
Yeah. How terrible is that? So, but Taha, Tina, Geert, Greet, everything is the same. So, but apparently you have dyslexia, and that is the reason behind the fact that you always say my name. Well, you write my name wrong. So
true. but in my head, it's still Greet.
Okay.
It's not Geert. No.
Oh, that's a good thing. Luckily, yeah, because it's a man's name. So tell me a little bit about yourself in 2-3 words. Who are you? We're gonna go more in depth in your in the history and everything that you've been through, etc. But in a couple of words, who are you?
In a couple of words, I would say I'm an entrepreneur, focused actually in trying to change the world. It's not anymore 3 words, so I hope I said already the essence of the question.
Yeah, it is changing the world. We like that. An entrepreneur who wants to change the world. How great is that? And how old are you again?
I am now 24.
Okay, how great is that? So
yes.
We can believe in the young generation to change the world. Actually, I like working with people who want to change the world. It looks like a fluffy sentence or something like in the American movies, but I'm convinced that everybody can change the world in his or her way. It doesn't need to be some major thing like we're gonna put a man on the moon, or a Martin Luther King who had this dream. You can do it in your own special way, changing the world. And as a business owner, an entrepreneur, I'm pretty sure that you can change the world too. But now that we are talking about changing the world, tell me, what is it? How do you want to change the world?
So from my side, I believe actually in a world where everyone belongs, where everyone can be who you want to be without the limits, without the difficulties, without the fact that you are excluded based on your background or on your preferences. And that's also the goal that I'm trying to follow. And I believe also in that utopia of a world where everyone can be who he wants to be. And I see that also as a way from my side to try to change the world. So many people will say maybe it's too fluffy, maybe it's like too cliche to say that you want to change the world, but you need always like a motivation or a goal to go for. And for me, it's really a big drive in what I do and in what I'm trying to do today. So.
All right, and was that also the reason why you started your first company? Because you started your first company at 18, when you were 18, right?
Yes. So yeah, the first company was Muslimcom. It was actually a media platform where we wanted to change the negative narrative about people from an Islamic background. It started actually from the reason, I felt, especially from my side, that when I encountered people, people defined me really fast on that part of my identity. And it was really difficult for me because I have a really complex identity, like everyone. Our identity is made from many different parts. And when you see someone trying to define you based on some stereotypes or based on the narrative or the dominant narrative, it was really difficult for me. And at that stage, I said, this is not right. So many people who were raised Muslim or who are culturally Muslim or has parents who are Muslim, and they are still defined by one label and by many stereotypes. And that's the moment when I said, like, we need to change this and we need to create a better narrative to make it a better world for many people.
So, and I think it's a fantastic idea, and that's what you are about, inclusion in the large sense. But going back to Muslim.com, what kind of platform was the idea behind, or who was active on that?
So when it comes to Muslim.com, the intention was to bring different stories and about different identities, and change the narrative from trying to label a group based on one ID or one label to giving them the freedom to define their identity how they want it to be. And actually the platform was, I would say, a safe space where people can share articles and stories. And the first drive or intention behind the website was especially to inspire and motivate people to be themselves, not based on what they see on TV, not based on what the dominant narrative is, but what their identity is.
So so people could just post some stories on that platform. Is that it? Was that the idea?
No, so we were like a real media platform. So people can send us articles. We had also like journalists who were writing. But the reason, or the most important reason, was also to bring the different story, the story that you didn't see in the media. And it was actually a successful story because I think after a couple of months, we started to reach millions of people. And one of our most beautiful accomplishments is the fact that we also influenced many traditional media. So our articles started to be were taken over by media platforms like the New York Times or BBC or Al Jazeera. And for me, it was actually successful.
Yeah, I bet. More than millions of people. I wish I could say that, but that's not the case yet. Okay, so that's great. And when you started that platform, it's after a couple of months, it was pretty fast a big success. What were the difficulties that you encountered during those first months and potentially the first years?
The the thing is, if you are going to launch a media platform and it goes viral, and after a couple of months you're reaching like so many people, the first question that you ask yourself, oh, I'm having like a big responsibility. So that was something for myself to think about, like, wow, this is a big responsibility. How do I have to deal about? But also the other side of the story, like technical. I remember like days that that our website went down because there were like a lot of people on it. So it was actually some technical issues that we had. But in general, I think for every project that you start or for everything that you're trying to do, you will see some difficulties, but you see that as a challenge. And that's what defines a project for me. So I can say there were like many challenges, many difficulties, but it defined actually the projects, and I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, well, that's it. One problem solved, isn't it? And there's a new challenge that knocks on your door. So that's typically
for sure, yeah.
Yeah. So and then and so besides the major challenges technically, and then okay, the responsibility, because that's also an interesting one. How did you cope with that, having that major responsibility, or the feeling to have that major responsibility?
I would say like during my whole entrepreneurial journey, the thing is like sometimes you feel that feeling and sometimes you think like, fuck, I have a lot of responsibility, or I need to do this, or I realized this, or I did this. But at one point when you are keeping hard and working hard, actually, you forget about the whole situation. So if you are asking me like, how did I cope with the situation? I would say I worked harder. I forgot about the situation. It's also a way to cope with situations or difficulties. So for me, it was most of the time an answer for some challenges.
So just keep going. So and that's the
keep
idea.
going. Yeah.
But I think that it's a good strategy actually, because if you start to think about it too much, then you could get paralyzed and just break down or whatever. So I think it's not a bad strategy to to just go in action and continue working. And apparently that worked very well. So it was pretty successful. But then at a certain moment in time, you decided to sell the platform, right?
Yes. So actually, it was a year ago that we felt that in Belgium we don't have actually all the resources to build Muslim as a bigger platform than it was, because we were already active everywhere in the world, but our biggest audience came from the US. So I think if you would say like we reach 10 million people every month, 50% was from the US. So for us, it was really difficult to keep the platform or to run the platform if you are not there. And many people would say like, why you had to move to the US or something and build it further. But for us, it was a smarter move to give it to a new owner who will take care of it, and give it also like all the potential that's possible for the platform.
So yeah, you did not feel like moving to the US is so that was not really one of your major ideas and going there.
So actually we started also the agency Allyens, Allyens.com, and it was actually a year after when we started Muslim, and I really enjoyed what I was doing with Allyens. And I would say like I'm a serial entrepreneur, so when I get bored or tired of something, I need to jump to something else. What's actually really bad, because it makes it really difficult to sometimes focus on one project. But I have my tactics for it. So, but the thing is, so when we had Muslim grew really fast, but I felt after time that I couldn't get like the fulfillment from it. So we did a lot of great things with that. And for me, it was a logical next step to do something else, and that's why when I started to focus on Allyens, and I really liked what we were doing with Allyens. So probably for the people who are looking there thinking like, what the fuck, what's Allyens? Can you explain it?
Yeah,
so
that was my next question. So tell us.
Voilà. So a year after when we launched Muslim, actually a couple of months even, we were invited by many companies, organizations who asked us a question: how did you start the platform, and how did you reach actually a lot of people? And for us, it was a logical answer to say to them, like, it started from an inclusive mindset. We have like also some value to change the world, and maybe that's the reason why it worked. But for us, it was also at that stage an opportunity to say, we can also start actually an agency and help organizations and companies to work towards that intention of changing the world and becoming more inclusive. And because it was an opportunity for us, we said we are going to start that agency. So actually we were running Muslim at the same time we were running Allyens. It was sometimes really crazy, but I survived. I'm still here.
Yeah, luckily. Oof, oof, oof. Otherwise, I would have had to look for another guest. But inclusion. So that's the main topic of what you are interested in for the moment. What I've noticed is that there's still quite some people who don't really know what that means and what's the difference between inclusion and diversity. Can you shed a light on that?
It's actually a really good question. So when I try to explain the two definitions, I try to explain it with an example. So actually, diversity is having a room full of diverse people. That's it. So if we're going to compare the room with a party where you have a lot of people, that's diversity. So I did a great job to invite many different people, and everyone is here. The best actually, so at that stage, no one is interacting with each other. No one is feeling okay to be there, or we don't know about that situation. But when we are going to look at inclusion is the moment when you are creating an atmosphere or a party where the people are feeling okay also to join the situation and dance and be themselves. And that's a totally different stage than staying or trying to be diverse. Because we see that with many companies who are trying to be diverse or who are working on diversity. But for me, it's not really important because diversity is a situation. And inclusion is actually a situation where you're trying actively to work on creating an environment where all the diverse people with their diverse backgrounds can belong and also be actively,
involved.
I don't find the right, involved, that's it.
Yeah. I think also that's my experience because I've worked for 10 years in human resources, and then a couple of years ago there was this hype to create a department or a diversity manager. It was mainly focused on women versus men. So that's one of the myths I think is really outdated. Diversity is much more than women and men, of course. But what I saw was that indeed companies try to have a very diverse population of employees. But so what? I mean, okay, that's nice. So that's like what you're saying. Okay, then you have a party with a lot of people. So great, yeah. But I think that the strength is and what's important for companies when we think about diversity is the inclusion part. And I think what's so interesting is that you use, that's maybe not the best term, but you use the strengths of all these diverse people, let them work together, and then 1 + 1 will become 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 instead of 2. And I think that is the main strength of working with the inclusion glasses on, if I can say it like that, is using the strengths of this diversity to create something better, whatever better it may mean. Isn't that what you also think about inclusion versus diversity?
Yeah, so for me, actually diversity is putting the focus on the differences, trying to make to say like this person is different, this person has a different background. They're all important. The fact that we are all diverse, it's what makes us all beautiful and strong in society, and what makes the world a good place. But the other side is the fact when we are looking at the inclusion, we are trying to look to the similarities and try to find how can we bring people together on shared values, on shared intentions. And then it's really easy to bring people together and to work actively to get people involved and working together. And that's the difference. And what we see with many companies and organizations is the fact when they focus on diversity, they focus most of the time also on the differences. And you see that they're trying to find a way to attract more women, to find a way to attract more this or more that, or people from an ethnic background. But that's totally not wrong. But the problem with that is the fact that you are also trying to label a group of people based on one part of their identity. So you are saying like, I'm defining people from an ethnic background only on that background, and that's how I see them. Many people don't like to be labeled, and also trying to label people makes it also difficult because people are quite complex with their identity and their background. And the reason why we try to look to inclusion is the fact that we try to look to the similarities that people have without always trying to put the emphasis on the differences of the people. And that's for me why we are trying to work actively on inclusion instead of diversity. Many people will ask me also the question, but yeah, we are all diverse and it's also part of us, for sure. It's also really, really important. We are all diverse and it makes us all rich. But many people don't like to make it the most important topic or question about their identity. And it's also not fair to define a person or say, I'm going to label you like that. So when people come to me and says like, oh, you have a Moroccan background, so you are Moroccan, I look at them and I say like, yeah, I have a Moroccan background, but I have also many different backgrounds, and they define the person that I am. So I don't want to be labeled in that box. So yeah, diversity is still important, but the goal for us is the fact that we have to go to an inclusive world, inclusive workplace, inclusive marketing, and that's the goal that we are trying to achieve with the agency.
Yeah, because and that was indeed my next question. So you're talking about inclusive marketing. Tell me, what is that? What are you aiming for? Why would we work with Allyens for inclusion marketing?
Yeah, so you would work with us because we are really cool and really nice. That's also
of course.
reason.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, you know.
So that's one reason. But I think so. When it comes to inclusive marketing is actually an answer on the traditional marketing of today. Marketing who tries to actually label people, who is also based a lot on biases, on stereotypes. And for us, it wasn't an answer on today's super diversity. If you look around you, society is becoming every day diverse, and we can't ignore that fact. But if we look to how many organizations and companies communicate or try to market their products, they focus always on traditional ideas or on traditional insights or on homogenetic ideas that are created by a couple of people who are all the same. And for us, it was actually really problematic because if you are going to keep communicating on a traditional way, you are going to miss a big part of society. And that part of society is becoming every day bigger. So many people will ask then the question, oh, okay, so my traditional marketing is working today, and for the people that I don't reach, I'm going to create another strategy. That's easy. And that's the moment when you had concepts like ethno-marketing or diversity marketing, where they are focusing on some labels of the target group that they want to reach. And for me, it wasn't also not an answer, because it's an answer, a short-term answer. So we are going to solve the problem directly by saying, okay, we don't reach that target group. We are going to create a new strategy based on their ethnic background to reach them. But also the fact that society is becoming diverse, extra diverse every day. It wouldn't be really smart to create different channels for every person with another ethnic background. So to find something more efficient and something as an answer on today's diversity, but also on how people define their identity, we came with inclusive marketing, where we are actually trying to make a message or a campaign accessible for a bigger target group based on a shared insight that many people can recognize, and a campaign that's not based on stereotypes or biases. And then you are actually creating inclusive campaigns or inclusive products.
So, and to make it a little bit more concrete for people, can you give us an example where it's like, this is okay, we can't show it, of course, but can you explain like an example of this is a good example of how you should do it, and this is really the wrong one? And you don't have to name names, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to bash on.
No, but just to give us an idea.
Yeah, I would give an example. So if you have like, I would say, you are selling tea, and you are reaching through your marketing only the traditional people that you reach every time, and you are missing actually a bigger target group in your market that you don't know how to reach. So a wrong answer would be to say like, okay, the target group that you are reaching, we see that the society is becoming super diverse, and we want to market the tea to the Moroccan people in their society, and yeah, they are becoming bigger, and they're really interesting, and they have also like a really bigger economical market that we can reach. The wrong answer would say like, okay, we are going to create a new campaign or a new channel based on their ethnic background, only focused on their ethnic background, and sell them the tea and hope that they will buy it. Another answer would be, we are going to try to find an insight that's shared by our traditional target group that we reach today, but also shared by the target group that we want to reach. And then we are going to create an inclusive campaign where we are not going to differentiate between the traditional and the newer target group, but reach the target group, the total target group that you want to reach. So make it easy. So someone comes to us as a client, they sell tea or sugar, and they say like, okay, we reach a small target group, we don't reach a bigger one. How can we do it? Our answer is like, we need to try to find some shared values, some shared insights that we are going to use as a base for the campaign, and then try to reach the bigger target group without putting the focus on the differences of the target groups that we want to reach.
Okay, so I get it. So if you wanna sell tea to, for instance, and you're mainly focusing on white people, and now you wanna attract more black people, just to say something. The idea is not to make some kind of video where you see all black people. The idea is, okay, black people, white people, what's a common ground? Okay, maybe black and white young people who discover that tea is very healthy, and so focus on the health aspect and the young aspects, and it's a combination of white and black people. Is that a little bit what it is about?
It is an answer on what I tried to explain. But also, what's also really important is the fact that we are trying to find other shared values that we are going to try to promote. If you look to many campaigns or many marketing strategies that are used by companies today, most of the time they are based on some biases or some ideas, and also when it comes to the implementation, or the insight that they are using, or the channels that they are using, they are not really inclusive in that. So that's the reason why they are always reaching the same people with the same background. And it makes it also for many really difficult to change that, because they are thinking like, but we are reaching the people that we want to reach, and we are getting our targets. Why would we actually reach a bigger one? Why would we make it difficult for us to reach a bigger one? And that's when inclusive marketing comes in place. So it makes it actually really easy for many big companies to reach both target groups without losing one.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a question here from Thomas. How would you go about identifying or discovering target groups that you are currently not marketing for?
Actually, if you look to society, if you look around you, if I look around and I see, okay, this is the group that I'm reaching, and I do some research, and I see that my product is only known or only popular for a small target group in today's society, then you have a problem in the group that you are reaching. The other side is also asking, and as I said, like reaching out to the group or to the total group that you want to reach. But if you see that many people in society don't have any connection with your product, then you have also a problem. So then you have to find out, why is it not working? Why are we not reaching that target group? Why are we not reaching the people, that group of people? And why are they not feeling included in the message that we are trying to share? And in that moment, when we do a research like that for our clients, we see that many people don't recognize themselves in the campaigns. We see that many people don't feel like the campaigns are targeted to them. Many people don't understand sometimes the insights that are shared or are not really accessible for them. And then that's the moment when you think, whoa, we aren't reaching everyone that we want to reach.
Yeah, sure. And another question, we've got in our audience a lot of small business owners and solopreneurs. How can they use inclusive marketing? Do you think it's interesting for them too? I guess so. And how can they go about it? Because, okay, we're not Coca-Cola or some big brand or whatever.
Yeah.
So as a small business owner, do you think it's still interesting also to really focus on inclusive marketing? That's one question. And why should we do that? What's the added value, would you say?
I think the most important added value in general for inclusive marketing or inclusion is the fact that you're building a connection with your target group. You are becoming really authentic. People enjoy the fact that they are included in the story, that they are part of something. So that's an important part of it. But also when it comes to the question that you asked me, like small business owners, is it possible for them to also use inclusive marketing? Actually, for small business owners, is the question: are we inclusive enough? If we look to our, I would say, like to our store, how do we treat people? Are there some biases on how we communicate? Is our store inclusive for people with a disability? Because it's really broad when we look to diversity. If someone comes inside, do they feel that they belong here? Do they feel okay to come to our store? And I think if you give that feeling to your target group or to the people that you are reaching, for sure many people will want to be part of it, and I think you will also sell more. Because if you are only going to focus on the group that you are reaching today, and you are not questioning the way that you're reaching the target group, or the biases that you have, or the ideas that you are sharing, or the insights that you have, it's going to be really difficult to actually be inclusive. So when it comes to being inclusive, it's really important to question yourself many times, and ask yourself the question: is there something that I'm doing now in my store? I'm taking the example of a store that will make someone feel excluded. And it can be something really simple sometimes. It can be sometimes that I would say the way that you're communicating to someone was maybe a little bit racist, or the way that you said something was really wrong, but you don't realize that. But in that way, you give the feeling to someone that that he isn't included in this store. And yeah, you're going for sure to lose customers or not reach that customer that you want to reach.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I get that. But when I look at the small business owners, especially in the services industry, like consultants and coaches and trainers, people who sell services, there's this big myth that a lot of marketing and business gurus say is that you should have a very, very small niche. But I don't know whether it's a myth or not. I'm saying that it's a myth, but who am I to judge? But you should have a very, very small niche, because Seth Godin said, everyone is not your customer. So that means you should have a very small niche, a very small target audience. What's your opinion on that? Because if you want to have a very small target audience and then suddenly you start talking about inclusion and having everybody on board and whatever, is that not the contradiction?
So when it comes to niche, is the fact they're going to focus on some characteristics, I'm not finding the right word now at this stage. That you are going to focus on behavioral things of the target group that you want to reach. So say I have a business that wants to reach moms because I'm selling things that are specifically made for them and that they are interested in, and that's the target group that I want to reach. So I'm doing some coaching for moms, for young moms. When it comes to being inclusive, so you defined your target group. The problem with that is the fact if you are not inclusive when you are trying to reach all the moms, but people from a different ethnic background don't feel like they belong in the story that you are selling. It's going to make them really difficult to be part of that story. Actually, are focusing on a niche, but still excluding some people or still not reaching people that you can reach in that story that are also fitting the definition that you are trying to reach. And then you have a problem. Then you are not inclusive in your way you are communicating or in the way that you're bringing a story.
Yeah, I see some remarks here. Monique is saying, yeah, that's what they always say. And that's why I say it's a myth, actually. Having this very small niche is it's not always a good thing. And then Thomas is saying, yeah, I think the niche refers more to the area of expertise versus the target audience, and that's how you can look at it indeed from the area of expertise focus. But it's also some marketing people will also say, nah, it's better that you really narrow down the target audience. And if you narrow down the target audience and you narrow down the expertise, the field, your domain that you're a specialist in, and you combine those two, then you can become the authority in your field. Yeah, of course, that's not so difficult. Yeah. But if you have one person in your target audience, yeah, you're the king maybe for that person. But the question is that good enough? But everything has to do with choices, I believe. I mean, it's how big do you see things? How many people do you want to reach? How diverse will your target audience be? And it's a choice that you make, or is it just not a good idea to make that choice? What do you think?
But the thing is, like, well, when I come back to the fact that you want to be the thought leader or the expert in your field, it's for sure really important. But if I'm trying to reach a target group that I defined, and I see that based on the way that I'm communicating or based on my behavior, I'm actually excluding people based on their background, like I said, like ethnic or their gender or the sexual orientation, then I'm not inclusive in that story. And then I'm actually, even the fact that I define my target audience, then there is something going wrong. And it's also like an answer that we get like often, but you need to define your target group. For a successful campaign, for sure you need to define your target group. If we're going to do a campaign targeted to young millennials, then we are going to define that target group and try to reach that target group. But what we are not going to do, and is trying to exclude people from the target group of young millennials, then we have a problem in that story.
Yeah.
And what we see today is, I would give an example. If Coca-Cola is going to create a campaign that's targeted to that target group, and they're not reaching all the young millennials, then something is happening in their communication. Or the message isn't accessible for many people, or the story that they are bringing isn't accessible, or maybe the channels that they are using in their communication are not targeted or accessible for many people that they want to reach. And then you have to question that, because for a big company, they are losing a big target group that they are also interested in. And from our side, is trying to look what's going wrong in that story, what's happening, how can we solve that problem. So they are going to launch a campaign that, if I see it as a person, I'm going to give it a really personal story. For me, why I founded Allyens is the fact, when I looked around, when I saw advertising or marketing campaigns, I couldn't recognize myself in it. And that's actually the societal part of the story. And it was also really problematic for me, because if you can't recognize yourself in that story, if you can't see yourself in that, it makes it really difficult for me as a person. But also when it comes to the communication side from Coca-Cola or big brands, it's not their intention to exclude people. They want to reach that bigger target group. And that's when we come in between. And for me, actually working on inclusive marketing has also a societal intention. I believe that marketing and communication has a big influence on our society. So actually it defines the narrative, it defines how we think, it defines how we see things. I think many stereotypes from years ago are created by advertising. How we see women, how we define women today, it was based on advertising. And that's the reason why I want actually to make communication and marketing more inclusive, to also make the impact that it has on us a positive impact and not a negative one, filled with biases, filled with stereotypes, filled with labeling people.
Yeah, I get that. So Zain is saying people of different origins are not one homogeneous group. To me, it sounds wrong to put all the people or all one in one bucket. There are far more different factors. Yeah, that's obvious. And do you have a particular question there, Zain, for Taha, for me? I get what you mean there. Yeah.
And I want also to something on that, because I think Zain has a really good point, and that's the problem with diversity. The fact that we define diversity so far that we are trying to start to label by actually using the word diversity and saying like people from an ethnic background or Moroccans are like this and that and that, and that's the problem in that story. That's what we are actually doing, and that's when it becomes really problematic. So when I'm going to create a campaign to reach actually Moroccan people, and I'm creating that idea in my head that Moroccans are like that, I'm also starting to stereotype and defining a whole group of people based on my ID or based on my biases, while that diverse group is also super diverse and has also many different identities. That makes it also actually the beauty for society.
That reminds me actually of in American movies, when they have French people, a French guy, he always has this baguette with him, and this T-shirt with black and white or blue and white stripes and how do you say that, a beret. So that's talking about stereotyping. Now, another thing that I wanted to add, I think we've been talking a lot about marketing and attracting, reaching people to buy, of course, and attracting customers or clients. But it's, and I'm again thinking about our small business owners. what I think is also very important is, and that's the future too. If you want to make yourself future-proof, get rid of the idea of competition and start thinking in terms of collaboration. And I think that there is also a room for improvement. First, that we start collaborating more instead of competing with each other, but also finding the right people to collaborate with, and not always targeting the same kinds of partners. There you can also have an inclusive approach, I think, when you're looking for partnerships, whether it's long-term partnerships or whether it's just working one time together. I think that we could use a more inclusive approach there too. What is your opinion, Taha?
I think, yeah, inclusion is the most important part about inclusion is the fact that you don't exclude people. When I'm giving actually a talk, the first thing that I ask people is, what does diversity mean to them? And then I ask them, what does inclusion mean to them? And then I show them, I don't answer that question, and then I show them a picture of some children playing, and then one person standing and looking at that situation. And I can't show the picture here now, but I would say, like, to the people who are listening, try to imagine that situation, and try also to imagine the feeling that you have and the feeling that you get from being in that situation. And when I get an answer from the people, when I ask them, like, give me a situation where you were excluded, how did you feel? And what was actually, in one adjective, how would you describe the feeling that you had? And many people will say, like, I felt angry, I felt lonely, I felt sad, I felt like I wasn't that smart. And people give me, like, so many emotions that they linked about with exclusion, that it changed the perception about how we see inclusion, because inclusion is really easy. It's a word that we are using. We say, like, we need to go for a world where everyone can belong, where everyone can be here. But what's really wrong is not giving someone the opportunity to belong, to be part of it, to be part of a network based on one part of their identity. And that's really problematic. So also when you said, like, collaboration, it's amazing to have a network where you can collaborate with people and collaborate with other people. But for me is the question, how fair is the place where people are collaborating with each other? Is it accessible for everyone? Can everyone be part of that place to collaborate with each other? And that's what we are trying to do, actually. Mm-hmm. I don't want my children in the future to be excluded, or that it's difficult for them to do something or to be part of something because of one part of their identity. And that one part of their identity defines how they are standing in society and what they can get and what they can't get. And that's changed the total perception of actually inclusion, because inclusion, it's a word that was used many times. We are using it as diversity, but if you give it a feeling, if you understand how people feel if they're excluded from a situation, then you understand. So for me, I give actually, like, this moment, the technical part of what inclusive marketing is, actually also the economical part for many companies, that they can reach a bigger target group and that they can reach many people. But also the other side is the fact that you have the societal impact on it, that you are also giving a place for people, that you are removing some barriers for other people, or obstacles to be also in that same, and to be also part of that society. Mm-hmm. I hope it's an answer on your question.
yeah, sure. So well, it was less about partnerships, but yeah, I think we're on the same wavelength there. Now, going back to you, okay, we've talked a lot about marketing and inclusion and the companies, etc. But you're 24 years old now. You founded 2 companies already. So what's next for you on the agenda? So because you were saying, I get bored easily. I need my new projects. So tell us what's next on your agenda.
So yeah, actually my focus is now totally on the agency. We are doing some great job. I think in the 5 years, actually we are now celebrating our 5 years of existence. Mm-hmm. What's really emotional.
Congrats.
So for us, it's also like the 5 years that we tried to build an inclusive world, and the thing is that we actually succeeded in some situation, and we're also thankful for all the clients who worked with us, and it gives us also the motivation to take it to a next level. We are now a team of 10 people who are actually focused only in Belgium. The next step is to take our vision to on a global level, and that's the thing that makes it really interesting for me at this stage. So I'm still not bored. Maybe I'm bored from the day-to-day work that we have to do, but now taking it to the next level, that's my next challenge for the moment.
All right, super. And so in 5 years from now, we have this conversation while you are in, I don't know, somewhere in Dubai or the US. Is that it?
I would say, like, what I often say about our agency is the fact that we don't exist over a couple of years, then we succeeded. So if we reach an inclusive world where everyone is inclusive, where it's the norm, where people don't need us anymore, then I'm happy. Then you can remove our agency, and then I can do something else. I will find something that I can change about this world.
Well, that's a very nice one. So maybe people in the room, if you have a last question for Taha, please ask the question. Put it in the chat box. Now, one for me, my last question for you, Taha, besides some practical stuff, what is the one thing that people like me, like the people in the audience, entrepreneurs, companies can do to make themselves future-proof and their businesses future-proof? What is your idea on that? Do you have any one big step, one big thing that they can do as of tomorrow?
Actually, I would say challenge your view, challenge your ideas about the world, about some constructs that we have. Because society is actually every day changing, and also when it comes to some constructs that we have, and one example would be we always believe that we have like male and female, and today it's not an answer because many people don't identify by the two boxes that we created. And when it comes to diversity and the fact that we are every day becoming more diverse, you have to be keen actually to challenge your views on the world and challenge the constructs that you have to stay actually future-proof. And one thing that I often say to my clients or to other people is the fact that working on inclusion is today actually an opportunity, but in 10 years it can be actually you're dead if you are not working on it, if you are not trying to find the connection with the changing society of today.
I think that's it. I mean, it's always keeping an open mind. I always use the sentence, and my clients and my community, they know it already. Is that so? And it's a pretty annoying question because every time people say something and then I say, is that so? But it's actually a good question, if I may say so, because I like to challenge things and challenge the status quo. That's also the reason why I'm having this webinar series. Is the way we are doing things, is it a good way? And if you do not open your mind and have an open view on the world, like you are saying, on business, on everything really, then like you are saying, then you probably will be dead in 10 years, or your business will be. So keep that open mind. I think that's a good one. All right. So, but that brings me to the end of our webinar. Are there any other questions from the audience? If you do, please let us know. Is there one question that I did not ask and that you wanted me to ask, Taha?
No. Actually, I think I love to talk, so I talk a lot, I feel, the whole time. So
but that's good. That's good.
I hope I said something interesting during this.
Well, did he say
this,
something
webinar.
interesting? Maybe you can say the audience. Let's ask the audience. If you felt that like it was a load of crap, please let us know. But I'm pretty sure it was not the case. Anyway, yeah. So
it will have like a big influence on my confidence if it was all crap. So I have to redefine why, if I'm really changing the world, but we will see.
yeah. But I like the idea. I like the idea that you want to change the world, one thing, and via inclusive marketing, why not? I think that's keeping that open mind is really a perfect way to get people to change the worldview, and that's a good thing. And that's what we need. We can't continue the way we've done business so far. Okay, well, that brings me to the end of the episode. It's 9 o'clock. I think that that leaves me, to thank everybody. Thank you, audience. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you, Angelique, for being a great moderator. And of course, Taha, thank you very much for being here. It was lovely meeting you and interviewing you, and I hope you had a good time too.
Thank you. It was really nice. It was really interesting.
Okay.
It was a nice, interesting experience. Thank you.